Hey, what's up guys, it's Kodak. Today, I want to show you how to set up the Zpacks Duplex in 6 simple steps. I think this is one of the best tents that's ever been made. It's been copied a lot, and we've been using this one in particular for the last year and a half. We first carried it on the PCT last year, and now, starting next week, we'll be carrying it on the Great Divide Trail in Canada. So step number 1 is going to be check your ground, make sure there's nothing like sharp or pointy that can puncture the tent, and then go ahead and lay it out. Step number 2 is stake out the 4 corners, leave them somewhat loose. We'll tighten them in a future step. Step number 3 is to set up the trekking pole and stake out the sides. Step number 4 is to go around and tension and tighten all your lines. Right now, we have a decent pitch, but it's still a little bit loose. And now we'll just go through, start with the ridge lines. So just tighten one side and then the other. And now we'll tighten our 4 corners. All right, at the end of the video, we'll go through and show some like common problems, and if it's like a little bit off, and we'll talk about, yeah, just like some solutions for how to fix like a wonky tent. But for now, we'll keep moving on to step number 5. We're just gonna pull out the guy lines over our head and our feet. There's a few ways to go about this. One, you can just stake it directly into the ground like that. And you can see that's gonna pull it out a little bit and help just secure the tent in the event of like strong winds or storms. My favorite way to do it is either to tie this up to a tree, if you have a tree that's close, to really pull that out, or you can use a trekking pole or a stick. If you have a nice wide stick, you can just put it through the Y and stake it out. If you're using something like a trekking pole, you'll tie what's called you'll use a Clove Hitch. It's just 2 half hitches, one on each side of the line. Coming back in on itself, and then you can just put your tent stake, whatever it is, through there, your trekking pole, and then tighten it up. There we have a Clove Hitch. And then just stake it out. And you can see, using the trekking pole, how much extra headroom that's gonna give you. Especially if you just adjust this slightly, you could loosen up these corner stakes. And that gives you a ton of room in there. And just go back through, do the same thing to your feet end, and then you don't have to worry about your feet or your head touching and getting like condensation or anything on you. You don't wanna go too much or you'll start to get this like weird sagging effect here. Now to lock the doors, they just clip right onto the little clip here, one for each side, and it adjusts with this little line lock. So clip that, clip this side, and now you can pull on this cord to actually tension it. Now we'll go through and talk about some like tips, tricks, tent stakes, and what to do if like the tent's set up just like slightly wonky, how to notice it and how to fix it from there. So the first thing we'll talk about is if the tent is a little bit off. So let me just undo this quickly. So what we can see happening now is like one common problem. If some of the lines are tighter than the others, and you'll notice you'll get these lines, these ridges that run through it, and all that means is the line that points to is a little bit too tight and the other side is too loose. So you can see by either tightening the loose side, and we can still see some lines in here. So that means we'll need to loosen this side just a little bit more and then tighten this, and that'll fix it. Now we're getting some lines going the other way. So we'll just tighten this side. You'll also want to use a rock whenever possible. This will help prevent bending stakes. If you use your foot, this is by far the easiest way to bend and ruin stakes. So always try to use a rock. One of the best parts about the Duplex is how adjustable it is. So in the event of a storm, we're gonna wanna pitch this closer to the ground. You can see now how high it is off the ground, and that's because of the height of our trekking poles and the distance of our corner stakes. So we just wanna lower that down and make sure you're not getting rain splatter and wind coming into the tent. So we'll just open the doors. We'll take our trekking poles, which are set to around 120 centimeters now. Zpacks recommends 122, but for a storm pitch, you can come down to 110 or maybe even lower. And you can see that just brought us down a bunch. So now we'll just tighten this guy line a little bit. Redo our doors. Tighten our doors. And you can see how much lower that even brought us. Now if we go ahead and do the same to the other side, or we could technically even bring this lower, and we could bring, yeah, if it was really storming, then we'd want to bring this in basically as tight as you can for the doors. So if it's storming, lower the trekking poles and bring your guy lines on the corners here as close in as you can. Bring it nice and tight to the ground. All right, now we'll show you how to take the tent down, roll it up, and get it into its stuff sack. First thing, you want to make sure that the doors are first zipped up, and then undo your storm flaps. Come through, undo your tent, start pulling stakes, pull out your trekking poles, undo your guy lines on the ends. Now, Cuban tents and most tents in general do best when they're rolled. Either folded or rolled, don't just stuff them. Door flaps in, guy lines to the middle, mosquito net tucked under. Now, we like to fold it in thirds first. Wind. A little more complicated when it's windy. Just tuck that back in there. So we're folding thirds, and then fold into the middle. Squish the air out. Again, make sure that everything is like tucked inside. It'll be nice and protected, sandwiched in the middle, especially if you're camped on dirt and pine needles. It'll tend to stick to the bottom of this when it gets a little damp. And then we'll just fold it in half one more time. And now we just roll. Guy lines in the middle, keep them out of the way. Doesn't have to be perfect. There you go. And now just slip it inside your stuff sack, put it in your pack, and you're good to roll. All right, thanks for watching the video. I hope this helps you guys set up the Zpacks Duplex. Happy trails.